Guys, welcome back to another episode of Always Making. We are joined by another talented artist here in our basement. We're going to get into a great conversation about everything they're passionate about making. But before we do, we've got some housekeeping to take care of. We are going to be joining Letter West on their first night market on April 10th. Mm-hmm. Come out, support all the local artists and makers that are going to be there. It's going to be a fun time. It is down in the Midvale area of the Salt Lake area. And that's going to be fun on April 10th. That's that event we've got going on. That was cool to be accepted into that one. And then we've got our Patreon. If you guys want to support the show, that is ongoing. We've got our sticker club membership. You guys can join and support. It's $10 a month. We got 2 stickers that are sent out every month to your door. That is all for that. If you guys want to support, go head over to the links in our bio, and I think that's everything for housekeeping we've got going on there.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Oh wait, no. 111 Threads. We're also at the 111 Thread store as well. You can check out their everything Acadia is doing at the store there, and all the cool artists at that shop as well. But that is everything for housekeeping. Okay, we can get into the conversation. We are joined by Blue Stocking Sewing. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to get into everything you are doing. We've met you a couple different places. We've done a couple shows with you. We've got Crafts and Drafts we've been at. We've been at Friends Friendship Market.
Copper High Vintage.
Copper High Vintage. We've done StickerCon.
Yes.
We've done StickerCon.
The other one was the Cryptid Market.
The Cryptid Market? You were at the
Lori
Cryptid Market?
put on, yes, last year, yes.
So we've done a few different shows that we've been able to cross paths and everything. Yeah. So great to have you on with us and finally get to have a great conversation. But what we'd like to start off with before we get into this conversation, we want to know everything about how you got started. You have a very rich history, and you've been doing this for quite a while. Yes. So when did it get started? Let's start there.
So I am kind of one of those people who's like always been a crafty person. Like literally taking it all the way back. I first learned to sew when I was about 5-6 years old. Every person who taught me anything about sewing was like the weirdest selection of people that you could imagine. Because I didn't have like a mom who sewed. My dad taught me how to sew. He tailored his own uniforms for work. He was a firefighter when I was growing up. Still is. But he was the first person who like got me hands-on with sewing. And then from there, I learned it at a summer camp where I learned it from a bunch of nuns at a Catholic camp. And then basically where this all kind of started was just kind of craft and hobby sewing. In high school, I did theater. And as a plus size girl, there's not always a lot of options for costumes. And so I was like, well, what if I just make my own? Then you can't tell me no. So my soccer coach, who was familiar with making garments at the time, she was like, well, if you want to, I'll help you and guide you with that. So when I was doing theater in high school, like I made all my own costumes for shows.
Amazing.
And so that was like that was more like my dabbling phase with sewing. It was always in the background. And then leaving high school and going into college, I was like, I have this skill and I have all these bills to pay, especially being a college student. I was like, I have all this fabric and, you know, people are so happy when you're like, I want to get into sewing, to be like, here's material for you. Go for it. And it's like, this would be a really great way to kind of help supplement my tuition and give me a little bit of groundwork as we were figuring out kind of like where we wanted to go next. If I wanted to transfer and do like a 4-year program to kind of save up for that. Mm-hmm. That's actually where the name comes from. So blue stocking was like a Victorian like slang term for like a well-read and literary woman. So I was like, that's like a perfect fit because I'm trying to pay for my education with this. So I got into making like these cosmetic bags because I was like, this is something that I could do really consistently and sit down and create like an assembly line process and make a bunch of them. And it's actually really funny. I've had customers come up to me at events. This was around 2017 who are like, I have like one of the first bags you've ever made and I still use it.
That's awesome.
Yes. That's exactly what we're going for. So I started off doing those and that was everything that I did at first was just bags and bags and bags. And I'd pop up to these little events, like a little thing at a yoga studio with a table full of bags. And it started off as just like such a simple thing, but there was something really soothing about it too. Like having this repetitive, like, you know, it's something I knew I could make and something that I was content to make. And at the end of the day, I always joke that like everything that I ever make if nobody ever bought it again, I'd have to use it for something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always kind of something that impacts like how I come up with what I want to put out there, because I want it to be practical at the end of the day, something that I could use or someone else could use, especially like long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something really satisfying when somebody tells me that they still use a bag that I like made in that first batch. I'm like, I have fulfilled the goal.
Yeah, like the best
I have
compliment, right?
continued to use this. And so now it's just kind of blown up into this whole thing. In the last couple of years, I've added in doing machine embroidery and digitizing and creating designs that way. So it's like now I've added this whole other layer to it, especially a layer of like kind of quirky ridiculousness in the stuff that I come up with, because I can put anything that I want on there. And I do. Like,
that is one of the fun things going into and learning embroidery, is that like you're like, oh, I can take the designs and like just go wild with it now.
yes, I could make anything out of thread on this machine.
It is kind of crazy to think like you're punching thousands of holes into material, and like it's like the concept of what embroidery is all from these machines, because like we have our embroidery stuff as well, and it is kind of crazy, like the stitch count when it's all said and done on some of these things. You're like, how is it holding together at this point when it's like 15,000 like threads or
when I sew
stitches?
patches, I'm like, this is a thing that I created literally just out of threads grouped together on stabilizer.
Yeah.
How does that, like the first time I made one, I was like, that can't be all the steps to doing that. But like you've got your design, you set your base, and it literally like weaves itself basically by making like a set of stitches and then going the opposite direction. And like I was so mesmerized the first time I made patches. I'm like, I feel like a wizard right now.
Have you? So I was gonna say, have you played with clear patch material yet, and so that it's like completely transparent, and then when you like actually punch out the full patch 100%, and it just is like, where did my material go? Because now it's just a patch.
Yeah, like the badge master kind of stuff. Yes, the first time I used that, I was like, surely there's more to this.
Yeah, right. How?
And like anytime I use like a wash away stabilizer to do them too, I'm like, now it's just here. It's a solid product that is made from just thread on thread.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And that's kind of the, like, I'm like, I could make anything now. Like, you feel so all powerful doing it.
I have a little postcard literally like facing where my sewing machine is that says sewing is magic, and it just it truly is.
It really does feel like that. Like, it's kind of funny because I think it gives this idea to people that I can do anything. Like, I can't tell you how often somebody at work is like, oh yeah, Zayna will know how to do that, or she'll know somebody. Like, you guys have so much faith in me. I really appreciate that.
And meanwhile, you're like, got your phone, you're like, I'm Googling it.
It's like someone will call me and they'll be like, okay, like my mother-in-law earlier was like, I need a gift for this very hyper specific thing. Do you think you could come up with something? And I'm like, I'm really sure I could, but how long do I have?
Yeah. Right.
And they see you do this and make these interesting and fun things, and they're like, oh, surely, like that's got to be nothing. And it cracks me up, especially like my sister does knitting and crocheting. Like we've always kind of both been like a little bit crafty, and so people will be like, well, she can do that, so I'm sure you can do that. It's like my sister does like really intricate lace knitting, and like blocking and like all these like, I'm like, no, I've never touched that. She's got the brain for that. I can do the sewing stuff. Give me the sewing machine, give me the embroidery machine. Even like hand embroidery I've done for many years, but that's kind of like my passion one still, where it's like, this is for me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hand embroider this, but that's for me to keep. Machines are cool because they can knock out so many things and so many ideas. And hand embroidery is like the part of me where I'm like, this is me connecting to the ancient art of embroidery, where it's a little bit more sacred and a little more personal. And I love to do like all kinds of like little florals and things like that. And I'm like, this is where that goes for me or for my daughter, or I'm like, this is the more time consuming stuff. So
yeah, you've got to have something that's just for you, for sure.
Yes.
Especially when I feel like you dabble in so many different things, or you make so many different types of things. It's like you got to have at least one thing that's like, this is just mine.
Yes. And that you don't turn into a side hustle, which is what I do with everything. I'm like, that could be a business too. Let's not do that though.
Yeah, we definitely know that problem. It's like, how can we maybe make a little bit of extra off of this one? But so the bags, what was the big decision with the bags? Was just because it was the thing that was like the easiest to get into, or what was?
So this is my thing. I live for a thrift store and I can't tell you how often like a project comes to me because of something that I found in random. It was a bulk bag of zippers at a Goodwill. I was like, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet, but here's a bulk bag of zippers. And I was like, I know how to sew a zipper on. And so I had this idea like of the very specific shape that I wanted. And I was like, I'm going to take these zippers. I'm going to go make a pattern piece. And we're going to make some bags. And so like that first random bag of zippers, I think it was like 50 pieces.
Okay.
And it was clearly something that someone had bought and taken like 1 or 2 out for a project. And we're like, okay, I don't actually need that. Here you go, Goodwill. And I was like, cool, 99 cents. Let's go. And I turned that bag of zippers into 50 little makeup bags.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We can find the supply of something like that. And then it's like, okay, how can we profit off of this? Like pretty good kind of thing. We've done that with a lot of stuff where like, oh yeah, someone did not see the value in this, but we see the value in like this bulk bag of something that like we can utilize for his material for sure.
And that's, I always tell people, I couldn't put a finger on like what I would have really called it for a long time. And then my boss was like, you're just a scrappy person about things. Like you come up with stuff and you let the materials you're working with kind of tell you what they want to be. But at the same time, it's like, for me, a big part of this was that I didn't want to get into any hobbies that were going to like bankrupt me.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do something that I can be passionate about, but also like if I'm going to make a business off of it, you do want to be profitable still. And that kind of started me down a road of like thrifting and secondhand, basically everything. I'm like, how can I avoid buying new materials for things, and how can I get the best price for stuff? And especially with sewing, there's been a lot of discourse, even like online recently, about like sewing being either accessible or inaccessible. And I think a big part of that for me, that doorway, was learning how to source material and find the stuff that I wanted to use in a way that was both like sustainable and affordable. And a lot of that came from like working things backwards. So finding the material first and then being like, oh, I could turn this into this. And so like, I know you do a lot of upcycling, and I saw a cute quilted jacket you were working on.
Thank you.
Like, I love projects like that where it's like, oh, here's this random 3-yard, swath of fabric that I found in an estate sale. That's going to be a bunch of tote bags now.
Yeah, 100%.
And so it gives this kind of like open door to keep what I do like affordable, but also that kind of keeping materials from landfills, giving stuff a new life. Especially like there's a lot of running jokes about people hoarding fabric, right? And for me, that was like the opposite. I'm like, how fast can I use all of this? But there's a lot of people out there who sit on huge stashes of fabric for a really long time, especially during COVID when like supply chains were kind of crazy. Getting fabric from anywhere was really hard, or even just getting to a fabric store because we were all locked down.
Yep.
And that was where I learned about de-stashing, which is where people sell each other stuff from their stash.
Yeah.
And that just opened that door even wider.
Or fabric swaps.
Fabric swaps.
Yes. Way fun. Been to a couple of those.
Yes. I'm noticing more and more of those cropping up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I think is when you're kind of finding materials, you don't know what you're going to find. It can be really great to like spark creativity.
Yes.
Right. And also keep your like product line kind of fresh. You're always coming up with new stuff because you don't know what you're going to find at the thrift store.
Yeah. And that's kind of, there's always a fine balance for me because I really hate leaning into anything that's like scarcity mindset where it's like, oh, it's limited edition. You're only going to get so many. I'm like, I don't really want to see it that way. But there's definitely like kind of a specialness of somebody gets this item and there's like 5 of them ever. It's like art pieces that are like limited or numbered where it's like, that there's only 4 other people that have that same thing as you.
Yeah.
Or maybe even 1. I get a lot of pieces where it's like, okay, this is just enough material to make one thing from it. Yeah. And somebody's going to walk away with only that version ever. And so that's kind of the really fun and interesting one has been that I created and designed. You've probably seen the butter bags.
I love them. I love them so much.
The butter bags are so much fun. But that came from me finding a random bolt of vintage yellow corduroy secondhand. And then so many people have wanted them that I'm on like every eBay search, like yellow corduroy fabric. I'm in every de-stash group. Who has yellow corduroy fabric? I need it to be kind of this shade of yellow. Please. So I'm like, I want to keep making those for people. But every one of them kind of ends up a little bit different for that reason. Because it's like I might find a yard here
Mhm.
of yellow corduroy, and that's like 3 bags. And then I find a kind of slightly different one here, and that one's another 2 or 3 bags. And so it's like every one of them kind of has this almost signature special, like you have that version,
Yeah.
and it's just yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are kind of in the same boat where we found these Care Bear pillow things, and we made these really cool sweaters where like the Care Bear was on the front and
Mhm.
back because they were front and back pillow
Like
and they-
panels.
yeah,
Uh-huh,
and
yeah.
and so we're like, these are really cool. And then I'm like, oh, we have to find more of these because it was literally like we found them in a bin that we're like, oh, look at these, and what do we do with them? And then we're like, oh, this would be great. What if we put them on the front and back of a sweater? The front, and then we're like, okay, we found more. And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go on eBay, find them, and I'm like, wait, I'm paying this ridiculous price for them now.
If you can even find them.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, now the cost goes up, and I'm like, now I'm having to transfer that cost to the buyer now, and I'm like, this isn't fun for me to now go, hey, that thing that I found for like $1 and I can now make it and keep it at a cost of like maybe $40-$50, and now I'm like, oh, now I have to like sell it for like $80 to $100 because of my time on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not fun. I don't really want to be like transferring that cost to like this, and it's like it's a cool one-off, it's all but I'm like, I feel like now I'm trying to mass produce because so many people were liking it. I'm like, that's not what I'm really about. I'm like, I wanted that cool one-off unique thing, so I'm like, I'm trying to chase that same thing because everyone's wanting it. I'm like, no, you know what, let me find that unique thing again. Like, let's look for something
The next
that's
new thing.
The vibe instead of the exact same thing.
yeah. And I'm like, okay, because it sold really great. I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm doing exactly what I was trying not to do.
Yeah.
And I get it 100%. It's like, oh no, let's find the vibe of that fun thing that was like unique.
And it's a fine balance of being transparent with people, like I said, and trying not to push the scarcity mindset, but being like, if you like that, I cannot guarantee that I will ever have it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this as long as I can find the stuff for it. But it's like, if one day I cannot find yellow corduroy again, it's like, well, you know, that kind of ruins the fun energy of like, hey, I took this vintage or secondhand material and turned it into something like super cool and kitschy and quirky and fun, versus like, oh, now I am contributing to buying more or having to have someone produce that. Like, that kind of takes away the fun of it for me, because it was that I had this bolt of yellow corduroy. I was like, what am I even going to do with that? And I was like, I could make it butter.
Yeah. That's the fun part of it. It's like you got to be the creative and like, oh, I saw this cool idea with what it was. That's why we have our screen print stuff that's like goes on t-shirts that we can get from wholesalers, and we try to find sources that are like good to the like world out there kind of thing, that are like recycled goods and stuff like that we're trying to do. But then we also find our upcycled vintage and like thrifted stuff that's like, hey, this is a unique piece, we'll screen print on it, we'll do custom things, we'll bleach dye it, we'll do whatever we can to make it a one-off unique, but that's the one we got. That's all it is. And like, if it's your size, if it's your thing, if that's all we got. It's like, we can't repeat it. That's is what it is. That's the unique one on the shelf. So I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, kind of like, we've got the one butter. That's it.
I think it kind of adds something really cool though for the customer, especially like, I know at the price point that we're kind of in for stuff, this isn't like crazy art gallery price stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody could walk into a market and pick up one of the pieces that we have.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you still get that kind of sensation of like, this is my special piece of art that I have.
Yeah.
But it's like, anybody could have it. And that to me is like such a cool thing. Like, I've interned in an art museum, and yes, it's really awesome to walk in there and like see these huge paintings on the walls that could never be replicated, or, you know, they're only available in prints outside of walking into the museum. But like, your everyday person couldn't just buy that and put it in their house. But it kind of keeps the tradition of like art alive, in that like, here's your little piece of the art timeline of the history of it. Like, and you like it, it's special to you, you're gonna get use out of it. Like I said, like, I really focus on things that are practical. Like, yeah, to me the butter bag is kind of a work of art, but also you're gonna put it on your counter and fill it with stuff and use it every day. You're gonna take it on travel.
Hi guys, it's Acadia from 111 Threads. Yeah, that new shop in Sugar House, a place where you can find alterations, clothing repair, upcycled fashion, and tons of local artists. Come in Wednesday to Saturday, 11 to 7 p.m. at 1956 South, 1100 East, across from the Sugar House Post Office. You can also apply to be a vendor, check alterations bookings, and more on 111threads.com. Be sure to check us out on our Instagram at 111.threads. Thanks for supporting local artists, and I'll see you in the shop soon.
We'll get back to the episode real quick, but in case you haven't heard yet, we started a Patreon to help support the podcast with 2-tier options to choose from. We're telling you this because we're starting a new segment on the show where we're taking questions from our patrons and answering them right here with our guest. This will be available for both paid and free members, so head over to patreon.com/steadfastrebels to sign up and support the show, or follow the links in the description. Now back to the show. One of the coolest things I think I've enjoyed so much about the art community here and expressing that and sharing that with people is that what we're making and what we're creating and being unique about it is, and being at the price point that we're at for some people is, when I was younger, if I had exposure to what I'm exposing the world to now, I wish I had more opportunity to buy at a younger age the uniqueness that I could buy now, because I'm selling to kids in high school age, college age, and I'm seeing the uniqueness and diversity that people are buying, and they have so much more confidence to buy and walk around with things that are unique. And I'm like, man, I wish I had that opportunity at my age to buy these one-off pieces, because they're not going into all these big box stores and buying everything that's on the, because that's what I was like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm buying this name brand thing, I'm walking around, but I'm like, they're buying this one-off, Christy's selling these one-off pieces to people, and they're buying a piece that is unique, and I'm seeing them go around to all the other vendors and buying one piece, and they're cherishing that piece and walking around, and they're walking around with some cool ass fucking pieces.
Yes.
And I'm like, I wish I had the balls to do that.
There's so many times I was always the kid growing up that was the weird kid, because I didn't want to have what everyone else had.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there wasn't these spaces to get that stuff.
Exactly.
Yep.
I was the kid who, my parents were really big on oldies and vintage stuff. My dad raised us in the Namco arcade games. I don't know anything about modern video games, but you give me Pac-Man, I'm gonna annihilate. I am that's the kind of household we had. My parents were the same way. My mom played roller derby. My dad was into punk rock music. The stuff that we were into was not normal, but you also just couldn't find it everywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't have a band tee for any of the bands that I liked until probably high school, because it's oh, that's some weird random punk band from England that toured through America one time in the 90s. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well,
There's no merch.
Yeah.
we both talk about it when in the early 2000s when we were shopping in thrift stores, it wasn't the cool thing to be doing.
Yeah. No, I definitely got made fun of in high school for wearing thrifted clothes.
It's I was buying Wrangler bell bottoms and walking around, and I was made fun of. I had the weird style and thing, but it was one of those things where I'm I thought I was a cool guy buying the random stuff, but it's I'm buying things that weren't in stores, but I'm yeah, I look like the weirdo and everything.
I mean, it worked. I thought you were cool.
When I was younger, I'll never forget, there was one year where my dad had the idea to take us back to school shopping, and he took us to, for anyone who's been to Northern California, this name will probably be familiar. It's called Denio's, and it was a huge outdoor swap meet and flea market, but they had these spaces that were really affordable, so people could kind of set up a garage sale space. You could pick one weekend to come, and my dad was well, let's go do your back to school shopping at the swap meet. And I walked away with so much random stuff, but the one that I will never forget, I had this belt buckle that said Jerry in big gold letters, and I was this is the greatest treasure of my entire life, and I wore it all the time. People were what are you doing?
I love that so much. My friend and I, she would thrift with me, and we one time found this Ziploc bag of worker uniform name tags that were obviously hadn't been used embroidered on anything, and so we just started literally just safety pinning them on all of our jackets and shirts, and we were just I'm gonna be
unique.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be Alfredo today.
Yes.
We loved them.
That's a big part of it. I've had this discussion in a lot of circles, is I grew up as a plus size teenager, and so fashion was a hard thing to have be super expressive, because you had to kind of make it yourself. You had to piece those things together, because this was before body positivity was a super big thing, so there wasn't a lot of places to get plus size clothes that were cool and trendy. You were at Lane Bryant in the same stuff your grandma was wearing.
Yeah.
And I was okay, well, I can buy this men's flannel and cut the side panels and put this little piece in here and make that work. And like I really had to kind of carve out what I wanted because it just wasn't produced anywhere. And so kind of in the same vein, like it was a lot of thrifting for materials and piecing stuff together and coming up with these crazy looks and putting the sewing to use and being like, yes, this is how I'm gonna make my stand and my creative statement, because I was like, well, I can't wear your mass-produced clothes and I don't want your mass-produced accessories, so how do I do this? And I can't tell you how many times, like, I am definitely sure there's people who talked about me, but there was a point where I just was like, I don't have the capacity to care. Like, I'm doing what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing it. And this is the option that's available to me. And if you don't think it's cool, that's really cool to me. I'm okay.
I love that. I was the same way. I remember one time I wore like a Santa sweater to school, and it was not anywhere near Christmas time, right? But I loved it. And I was like, whatever, it's warm and it's cold outside. I'm just gonna wear my Santa sweater because I like it. And my sister was like, you cannot wear that to school. And I was like, why? And she was like, they will make fun of you. Oh my gosh. Like she was like worried. Like she was thinking out of love and concern. She was concerned for me, but I was like, so what? Like,
I had a rain boots
care.
phase. It's the most random thing, but I got these Betsy Johnson rain boots. And like Betsy Johnson like spoke to my little middle school soul. And so I wore these rain boots with everything. It wasn't raining outside most of the time, but they had like skulls and crossbones, like pink and purple flowers.
I feel like I can already envision them because I also went through the Betsy Johnson phase, and oh my goodness.
But they to me were the coolest shoes I'd ever seen. I didn't care if they were rain boots. It's like, we're gonna style everything around these rain boots. And I'm sure my sister was mortified to ride the bus with me every day, but I was like, the rain boots are coming.
Rain boots are on and ready to rock.
And it's funny, like to me that's impacted a lot of the ways that I am creative in like other ways too, is that like sustainability is a big thing for me, and like using stuff up and you know the whole use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. And like I have been really fortunate that I kind of learned early on what things to look for that. Like now I find myself doing it with everything, with like material sourcing. I'm like, you know, this material has existed for 60 years. Let's give it a cool new life for another 60 years.
Yeah.
And use
100%.
everything up with it. And, you know, in a world of like fast fashion and like everything's like the newest, hottest trend, I'm like, what is going to be the thing I can make and use forever?
Yeah. It is one of those things with what we're doing today. Like, I think with a lot of the people we talk on the show now, like we're making this shift in like why we're creating what we're creating is to not like live in a world where we're like churning things out as quick as we can anymore. I think we're being smarter about what we're making so that like it's I don't want to say heirloom pieces, but I think there are some of us thinking of like, how is that thing gonna like maybe hand down to the next generation? I mean, for some people, some of this stuff might be vintage pieces like in the future for some people, and they're like looking at it at a thrift store down the line and going, hey, look at this cool piece that's like older and like picking up again.
I have been feeling that a lot as a millennial, seeing like the vintage and thrift resale community really pick up, because I'm like, that's the stuff I was buying in middle school. That's the stuff that was trendy and in, you know, J14 and Tiger Beat and all that when I was in elementary school. And now it's vintage.
Yeah.
And so it makes you really think about like where that whole cycle.
All the Delia's catalogs that are like everywhere now. And I'm like, I actually shopped from the Delia's catalog.
Someone called Wet Seal vintage the other day, and I still vividly remember when Wet Seal was closing and going out of business, and I was like, that can't be old enough to be vintage. And I'm like,
No.
I guess it's actually been so long that the last store closed that it is now vintage.
Oh, it was just the Olympics were just recently on, and Christy just was like, oh, the last time they won
We had a medal in
the
women's
medal
ice skating was 2002, and I was like, but this other article said it was 24 years ago, and I was like, that can't be right. And then I was like,
oh no,
2002 was 24 years ago. No.
Yeah.
I was a child of like when the internet was first taking off and like YouTube humor was the big thing.
Yeah.
And I worked with teenagers for a handful of years when I first moved to Utah as like a retail manager. And I would make references to stuff all the time. And somebody finally one time, after probably 2 years of working with most of these kids, one of them was like, is that from something? And I was like, What do you mean? Because mostly what I would reference was stuff like Charlie the Unicorn, which is like the most random humor you've ever heard. And they were like, you say it like it's a reference to something. And I was like, yeah, Charlie the Unicorn. They were like, what are you talking about? So I sat them all around a table and made them watch it. And I was like, how have none of you guys seen this? Which was when I learned that the Charlie the Unicorn video was old enough to drive, and most of those kids hadn't been born yet. And I was like, there's people alive that weren't born when Charlie the Unicorn started.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah,
and that was eye-opening for me.
Yeah, that's vintage.
Oh my goodness.
But it makes you really mindful of those cycles and how how quickly that turns over. And so it's really interesting to see stuff coming back in style now that I'm like, I didn't even think we were past that yet. I thought that was still around.
It is crazy to think that like some of the stuff we were like when we were in high school, I mean, not to date us or anything like that, but when we were in high school is now coming back in trend again. And we're like, we could have been rich if we would have kept all this stuff we
and
were
you do
wearing.
all these markets and you see all these vintage resale and you're like, that Juicy Couture purse that I got rid of because I thought that was so out of style and dated, and now you guys are fist fighting over it to spend $50 on a Juicy Couture purse.
Woof.
The velour tracksuits.
The Jinko jeans that are back in style again right now. I'm like, oh my God,
There's so many
a pair of those.
Like, why? This doesn't need to come back. Why?
Oh man. Well, we've gone off on a tangent, and I like, it's a great tangent, I swear. But we could go on for another hour on this. But I want to go back a little bit into your whole market side of things and talk a little bit about it. When was your first market that you did?
So the first time that I did one, a friend was like, I think you should come and set up. It was at this little yoga studio. This was in Sacramento. I lived in California. And there was like 4 other vendors there. I had no idea what to go into it expecting. She was like a seasoned expert. She does these really incredible like screen printed towels based on all the neighborhoods in Sacramento. And so she's got like this whole system down. She's got a name out there. She's like, we're hosting this little market. Come be a part of it. It was a little bit before Christmas. This was probably like November, late October. And I went in there and I just had rows of bags. No tiered displays. I had a tablecloth at least. I had thought of that one. And I don't want to say I winged it, but I kind of winged it the whole time with that one. And it actually went so well. And people were so supportive. And I was like, I really love this energy. Let's do this a bunch more. So I did a couple more small ones in Sacramento before I moved to Utah in the summer of 2018. When I moved here, getting my footing under me was like, it took a really long time. And so I kind of dabbled here and there and did like 1 or 2. And I had no idea that there was such like an intricate community of people who sell at markets around here until probably like 2 or 3 years ago. And so I was just kind of out there doing my thing. I'm like, I don't know if this is really considered successful, if this is, I had no baseline for anything because I was new to the area. I was new to doing markets out here. And I had only had so little experience in California, but I had like, the dream. I was like, I want to go out there and I want to do these markets and talk to people about the cool stuff I make and meet other makers. And that was really, it made me realize a couple years ago, I was like, this could be a way that I socialize with people because I didn't know a lot of people here outside of going to my job every day. And so I was like, oh, these are like-minded people who also create things and they make cool stuff and I want to be friends with them. And it's really been, there's so many artists in our community. Like Salt Lake City has such like a rich creative community. And it's really funny. I can't tell you how often I'm watching something like a suggested video on Instagram or something. I'm like, oh, this person makes cool art. And then I'm like, you're from Salt Lake City too. Great. I'm going to find you and we're going to be friends now. And then like I'll see him in a market and I still get that kind of like celebrity starstruck moment where I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I did a market with Squid Vicious and I follow them. They make the most cool freaking prints I've ever seen. And I like have a bunch of their magnets now and their stickers. And the first time I was like, these Squid Vicious is in Utah? Because I had seen all their stuff like in the realm of the internet as a whole. And you don't always realize how close people are until you're like really paying attention to it. I'm like, oh, this person that I've followed for ages and I love their stuff is down the street from me. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think people refer to it as like a very small town vibe in Salt Lake City, and I definitely think it's true. Like it's definitely happened a couple times. So I'm like, oh, I've actually been following you for like a few years and now you're at a market? What?
Yeah, it's been like markets to me started out as just kind of a like, okay, I've sewed too much, let's go and try and sell some of this stuff. And like I was on Etsy for a while, and that was really where I was doing the majority of my sales. And so the markets weren't as big of a priority. And then I realized like how much better I do in the space where I can talk to people about stuff and talk to them about why I enjoy something. Like I love more than anything when someone picks up a fabric and a print and like it sparks something for them, and I'm like, let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so we've touched a little bit on some of the things that you make, but we've really only mentioned like a few things, and you have a booth full of amazing things that you make. So what else do you make besides your pouches and your patches?
It really is a little bit of everything. Like I said, I kind of go for stuff that is practical but fun. So a really big thing for me is that I make like bag charms and keychains, but they're things that are like lotion holders and hand sanitizer keychains and lip balm keychains. So it's all the stuff that you reach for constantly, but in a fun print or an embroidery design that like you want to display or carry around, that puts those things like right in your hands or right where you need them all the time on hand, but in like a really fun way. So a lot of it is stuff like I have one of the best-selling lip balms that I do is a glow-in-the-dark alien. And so it's just like a little alien head on this glowing vinyl that I found from like, it's a company that primarily sells to boat upholsterers, but they sell off all their scraps in these like huge scrap boxes. And so I got this like brilliantly green neon glow vinyl one time, and I was like, score! This is going to be a bunch of glowing aliens. And there's really, people love them.
That's one of the fun things I love about like looking at scrap material and going, oh, there's still uses for that kind of thing. Like we look at scrap material all the time for a lot of different things that we make. Like Christy, we have boxes of scrap of things that we go, we can't get rid of this because there's still use for some of this stuff. Some of our leather things that we do, we go on eBay and find boxes of scrap because it's like, oh, like this stuff is at really good price already, and we're like, oh, we can make stuff from this because there's still good pieces in here. And it's like, oh, it's only going to cost us X amount kind of thing. And so why not utilize this and make stuff with it? And
that's with the first embroidery machine I started with. It's only a 4x4 space, and I still use that machine. But like you can get scraps of stuff from all sorts of places where it's like, oh, I only need a scrap 4x4 big. You don't like, there's so many things. And so like I'll buy these scrap boxes from this company, and it's like you can clearly tell it's where they're trying to like square up pieces or you know, line stuff up the right way or get like a very specific cut. And it's like, well, the lip balm keychains are like an inch wide, so I could make any scrap that's like an inch wide work. And so it's like literally no scrap goes to waste in my house. There'll be like teeny tiny triangles of vinyl, and that's like as far as it goes. But I'll start with like even a yard of fabric. If I get a yard of fabric, it's like, cool, I'm going to cut this tote bag shape, and then there's this big U shape, and then that's going to be a cosmetic bag out of that. And then oh, there's this little strip here. Well, that could be sunglasses case, and that could be like a coin purse. And so like by the time I've hacked it all up, I have like these teeny tiny just like threads of this original yard of fabric that I started with.
Yeah, and then even doing patchwork, like or quilting, like where you can like quilt stuff together, and then you do all kinds of block work together. You can make some really cool patterns with stuff too, with some of the scrap stuff. And then you're like, oh, that kind of worked too.
And that's, you see people get into I am not a quilter. I love doing a lot of sewing stuff, but like I have so much mad respect for the people who quilt. They do these like paper pieced things where it's like you have a scrap of fabric that's a 1/4 inch wide, and somebody has turned it into like the accent of a lip on like the image of a woman, and you're like, how did you even cut that small or get a needle through it? But they do, and it's so mesmerizing.
Yeah, 100%. I dabble in quilting, but like the paper piecing stuff, I'm like, I can't. That's beyond my ability.
I've seen videos of like a quilt show recently where somebody had pieced together a quilt, and it looks like an image of rafts on water, and then you get up close to it, and it's all fabric and stitching. And I'm like, what? That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, we always love going to the fairs and seeing all the quilting,
all
like,
the winners.
expositions. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, the exhibits here are like, okay, we got a long ways to go. Like,
That's actually one of my like funny little like lifelong little side quests. I'm like, I want to win a ribbon at a fair just to have to put up on the wall and be like, I did the thing. I overcame the imposter syndrome and I did that.
Same. We'll apply together.
Yes. Go in there, arm in arm, get our submissions in.
one of these days, we'll
Yeah,
all
for
get
real
there.
though,
Yeah.
it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's just such like a classic thing to want to be like, I want a ribbon at the fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not. We could all do it, guys.
Yeah.
Like, we could all do it.
I think we all make cool stuff. I think we could all win a ribbon.
I think we got to be at a certain age, though, right? I think that's like an old person thing.
No,
Right?
I thought it was, and then like I have seen people like they posted a video, like an overview video, being like submissions open today. I think it was the Ogden Fair, like a year or two ago, and it was all like moms, like my age, with like their toddlers in tow, like dropping off their quilts and their dresses and all the stuff that they're getting judged in categories on. That like the whole pan over, I was like, I was certainly expecting that to be a much older age group, but I think we've infiltrated
Okay.
the younger generations. We've taken over these hobbies.
Yeah. So we have no excuse then. Okay.
We have no excuse. We
Okay.
gotta get together. I'll watch for those dates and we'll
Okay.
do it this summer.
Okay.
We're gonna all do it.
Okay.
Group effort, right?
All right. So let's steer it back in again.
Listen, sorry, I have the worst ADHD
No, you're
squirrel
good.
brain. This is
We're good. I mean, this is the whole fun part about talking about what we love, right? Like we don't. There's
Did
no
we have-
agenda
Did
to
we
it.
have a topic that we
No.
need
well,
to
and I
stay
will
on?
never feel offended if you're like, we're just gonna cut that
No,
part out right
no,
there.
never.
You went too far.
This is always the fun part about this is like we love talking about what we love to do and everything. With what you're doing now with your markets, you're still doing Etsy with what you're doing, right?
I actually have moved. I have my own website.
your
now.
own website now.
Yeah.
So you're still doing the online market with what you're doing, and then you're doing markets as well.
Yep.
So how often are you doing your market space? Like monthly? Like how many?
So this is my chaotic thing that I do is that I don't do basically any markets the first couple months of the year.
Yeah.
Usually I always joke that like when tax returns go out, that's when people have fun money again to come spend on my stuff.
Yeah.
And so usually like January to April is kind of when I take a break. And that's when I kind of reset my craft space. I work on my website. I do all the big updates that I want to do for the year. And I kind of just take that time off. But then after April until December, it could be anywhere from like 5 to 9 markets a month.
Oh wow.
So it really just depends on, what I see is out there. And it's really funny the way I pick markets. Like there's some that I'm like, this is one that I do because it's a good moneymaker. And there's some that I'm like, this has good vibes. I just want to go hang out with everybody at this
Yeah.
one. And so I'm like, whatever happens that day happens. That's a space that I want to go and hang out at. And so it's a little bit of both for me. Like I said, the markets are a really good opportunity for me to kind of socialize and get out and like meet like-minded crafty people. And so I love being just kind of in an artist space where that's the energy is like crafting creativity. And especially like almost all the markets I do are exclusively like handmade or craft or small business markets. So they're all people who I know, relate to, and can understand the energy around it. Like we're all there with the goal ultimately. Like, yes, this pays a lot of our bills, but also, that you're going to be around people who have similar, like, not even doing the same things, but have the same bug, that same interest and excitement around making.
Yeah.
The thing, like, I only, I think, maybe less than a handful I can count have experienced maybe a couple people at a market that and you don't ever see them again. Like you get some people that are there and they realize it's probably not for them.
Yeah.
They're doing it probably for the wrong reasons and
you see it in real time.
Yeah.
You're watching that realization happen for them.
Yeah, but for the most part, every market we're at, and it's probably just the markets we probably get like go to kind of thing, but all the times we get to the markets, most of the people there are like even if it's a bad market, they're still having a good time.
And I'm always like, it's a what you make it situation. And I think part of that is definitely like curating the markets that you attend and choosing specific hosts or specific locations or specific areas. or even like kind of the theme to it. Like I've done a lot of brewery shows. I haven't done as many in the last year because now I bring my toddler with me most of the time.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's 21 and over, that's not as much of my space anymore. But the energy at those was always great.
Yeah.
And so it was people who not only like wanted to hang out and chat more than anything, they weren't just there to shop. Like they wanted to really get to know you and what you were making.
Mm-hmm.
Like those always had a really great energy. So even if I didn't make a ton of money, I was like, this was a great night. Let's go do it again.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's what keeps it from feeling like a job. It's more still of like a hobby that makes me a little money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm trying at the end of the day to get all the bills paid, but I think going into it without like that cloud hanging over me helps me like open up in a way that attracts the customers that I want, or attracts even just the people who like what I make, to have those conversations versus like sitting there and being like, I have to make money. I have to make money.
I've never walked away from a show with a bad attitude of the show. Like it's always been like we've always made money in the sense, but it's always been like I've had a great time. I've always walked away with a good experience from somebody who's bought something from us. I've always had a good experience of somebody who's just walked into the booth and just had a great conversation with somebody. And I think every show I've had a conversation with somebody who's seen something in our booth and like was like excited for something in the booth. Yeah. Like even if they didn't buy it, they were excited to see something in there kind of thing. And so,
I get people who are like, can I take a picture of this and send it to my friend? I think they'd really love it. And it's like, even if you're not going to buy it, I love that made you think of someone.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that created a connection for you. And I've had people who did that and then they remembered it later and they came back and they're like, oh, you're the person who had, like, I had this with one of the lotion holders that I make has like a Pyrex design, like the I think it's Crazy Daisy is the pattern, or Spring Daisy. And it's that avocado green with the white flowers. And she sent a picture of it to her grandmother. And then she came back and she's like, do you still have that? I really want to get it for her for Mother's Day. Oh. And I was like, yes, I do. Here you go.
I like to talk about tools in our like workspace that we have a little bit and share that with people out there. Is there a tool in your arsenal that you could not live without?
It's a very specific pair of scissors.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like the most random thing, but you cut, I cut hundreds of keychains. Like that's everything that I make. I cut it all out myself. Like I don't have a machine that does that because they're all different shapes.
Yeah.
I live and die by the Tim Holtz micro serrated scissors.
Oh, okay. I'm unfamiliar.
They make them left and right handed. And the thing is that they're affordable. This is my thing. I don't buy expensive tools. I might secondhand or thrift something that was once expensive and I am going to use it. But like I said, I never wanted this to be something that like bankrupted me. At the end of the day, if I never sold a thing again, I still want to be able to keep it alive. It's just too much fun for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I go for tools and supplies that I could recommend to anybody, and like, you know, a college kid in a fashion class could go buy it and not bankrupt themselves either. And so these scissors are like $10 to $16 a pair. They last forever, but they cut so clean through anything. So I do a lot of marine vinyl that it's thick, it's chunky, but these I can cut through and they don't kill my hands. And like, that's the thing is like, you are also tools of your trade.
Yes.
So you can't destroy your own body for the sake of creating, or like, what was it for? Like,
yeah, exactly.
For me, I'm like, yes, there's a little piece of me in all of my everything I create, but not to the point of destruction. And so I love these scissors because I use my hands all day, every day. If you're cutting out hundreds of things at a time, you don't want to risk like the damage to your hands. And hands are an important part of your body to have. So these scissors are like my absolute ride or die. I have them in every size. And if you ever look into any of my bags, I probably have a pair of them on me at any time. Because if I like leave the house, I'm like, what if I could be working on something? I need to have those with me.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Saving that, bookmarking that one for later.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into a pair of those.
They have like a 5-inch pair, a 7-inch pair, and then I think they also make like dressmaker sizes. But this tiny serrated edge of them, like there's nothing like it. It's just so clean.
Oh, okay.
But especially if you have like weak hands or you just do a lot of cutting for material. They also have very, very fine points, so they can get very detailed in what they trim.
Yeah, in our little caddy over there, there's like 10 different pairs of scissors right there, and like none of them are the ones you just said.
when I got into embroidery, they were not called embroidery scissors, so they were not the thing that caught my attention first. And I don't even know exactly specifically what they're made for, but like I found them one time where I was like, I think what I need is like a serrated edge. Like I need something that's going to get a really clean. And I just like Googled that, and they came up, and I was like, great, they're $9. Let's get a pair and try them. And I was like, I cannot live without these scissors ever again.
Yeah.
If they ever discontinued them, I will be buying every pair. And
then we'll be knocking on your door.
Yes. There is a name brand. Well, Tim Holtz is a name brand, but there's like a quilters community version of these that are like $40 a pair.
Oh, geez.
And I tell people all the time, like, you don't need to buy those. Just go get the Tim Holtz one. Just
Okay.
go put in Google Tim Holtz micro serrated scissors. They're life changing.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. That's why I love talking to like makers, because like there's always a tool that like they have. Like Adam Savage is like my like hero when it comes to tools, because like he always has something, and it's like whenever I watch his like YouTube channel and everything, there's like, okay, I'm adding that tool to the Amazon wish list and everything.
You never know what kind of random thing you'll need. So I did. It's always really funny, like the direction that my education took. But I started welding, and I actually am like an AWS certified welder. I don't do that for work. I don't use that. And everybody who looks at me is like, what? Welding and welding engineering? Like, you? And I would come there dressed every day, and you still wouldn't think that I was supposed to be there until I literally was like in my gear. And I was like, all right, let's do this.
Nice.
And it's funny. There is a lot of correlation between like welding and sewing. They always joke like, welding is sewing with fire, and it really is. But more than anything, it taught me
you're mending two things together. Yeah, no, totally. I get that.
It made me really good at measurements of all things, because weld beads and sewing seams are almost all the same. You use 5/8, 3/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, like all of this stuff that you would use to measure a weld bead 1 inch. I'm like, I can eyeball 1 inch because I use it for everything, no matter which direction I'm going. I either have to do a welding bead that's 1 inch wide, or I need to do a sewing hem that is 1 inch wide.
Well, you've just given me a really good excuse to get the welder, because Christy's going to be able to weld for us now.
No, I want to learn. So okay.
So
I always tell people, I'm like, if you can sew, you should try it, because there is so much correlation and crossover between the skill set and like the muscle memory between them, that like so many people I know who sew are better at welding than they think they would be. But it also is one where like you'd have the most random tools for things, and I can't tell you on how many occasions I was like, the answer to that is in my welding bag, actually. And I didn't know that. I once had a friend get their car keys locked inside their car, and we used my chipping hammer for welding to wedge the door open. And it was like just enough that we could put a coat hanger in and get her key out.
Nice.
And she's like, thank you. Your $6 Harbor Freight welding chipping hammer just saved me $100 on a locksmith.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But that's really like, I've always been the person who has these random things. I'm like, what random thing could I learn? Like, welding was not where it started. I was going to do production cabinetry, and then I was like, actually, welding sounds really cool.
Well, on that note, I want to know if there's any piece of advice you have to share with fellow makers out there that might get started in this maker world that we're in.
My number one thing is just go for it. You don't know until you try, which sounds like the cheesiest thing ever. But like, I can't tell you how many times the universe has accidentally set me on a path, and I was so resistant for like the first like 5 minutes, and then I was like, wait, there's a reason for this. Let's do it. And so many things I have just had to just dive in feet first to really. I am not someone who's like, okay, I have to really think about this and research it. My brain is like, what do we have to lose? Just try it. Just go for it. And resources are a big thing for me. If you are not sure if you want to get started in something, there's so many more resources than you might think for things. That was one that, like I said, when I first moved here, I didn't really have the lay of the land for anything. And I learned so quickly that there were so many more resources than I thought there were for, like, yeah, you can Google search like how to set up a market booth. But you can also message another maker or look at the way that someone sets things up and be like, hey, what advice do you have? Or group chats. Like, I didn't know there were so many groups for local makers.
Yep.
Everywhere I'd been previously was very like independent. It was like you showed up, you did your thing, you went home. And especially like in Salt Lake City, everyone here communicates with each other, which is so nice.
It's so different here.
It is
so different.
Like such a welcoming energy, which helped. But like, I can't tell you how many people have introduced me to a resource to be like, hey, did you know you could get grant funding for this random thing that you want to do? Or like I was telling someone the other day, a handful of the libraries offer Excel classes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you just have to have a library card.
Yep.
Show up and learn how to do Excel. And then that's your segue to QuickBooks or accounting or any of these things that you could learn to do for yourself. You just don't know are out there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or that they're free. There's so many things. And I'm like, actually, you could do that for free. You just got to go find the right place to do it for free.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many resources like right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You just have to do the legwork to go get it kind of thing.
And that's if somebody really wants to either turn their craft into a business or even just like get into crafting, like a really big part of it is just getting the information,
Mm-hmm.
deciding you want to do it and figuring out where to go to learn, being unafraid of making some mistakes.
We all make them. That's the reality. We're all gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
You will continue to make mistakes as you go through the process. It's okay to make those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most endearing things to me that like my daughter, who's going to be 4 in August, she watches me do all this stuff and she'll be like, oh, are you okay? And I'll be like, oh, I made a mistake. And she's like, you can try it again. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you have picked up on that so fast instead of being like, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. What am I going to do? She's like, well, you just try it again. You do it again.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, that's actually not really a mistake. Like that's an opportunity to do this other thing differently. And you know, sometimes you just have to be steered by that. The mistake leads to new discovery.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they make seam rippers for a reason.
Yes. I am the worst about that. I pile up all of my seam ripping at one time and I'm like, I will get to you when I get to you. And then inevitably there will be one afternoon where I'm like,
It's time.
that's all the stuff I need to stock my booth with this weekend. So I guess I'm going to be sitting here and seam ripping for the next 4 hours.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah. We have that similar pile. Yeah. But where can they find more information about what you're doing? Where can they learn about everything you're going to be coming up with and go to support what you're doing?
Really, my biggest one is Instagram. I definitely keep Instagram more updated. I do have a website. So my website is just www.bluestockingsewing.com. Instagram is the same, Blue Stocking Sewing, just all one word. And it is BLUESTOCKING, like a stocking you wear. I've had people who are like, I couldn't find you. And I'm like, did you spell it like stocking like I followed you?
Not
Like,
the creeper
yep.
stocking. Yeah.
Nope. I'm like, yep, no, blue stocking, like the color of your socks. So Blue Stocking Sewing on Instagram. I usually almost always post an update every couple of weeks of like, here's all the markets I have coming up this month. And pretty consistently, if you were trying to find me at a market, I have something I try to go for every other weekend. So I still have something off in between to breathe, but most of April through December, I am somewhere every other weekend.
Awesome.
Especially in Salt Lake area. That's kind of where I crop up the most.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and having a conversation with us. It was a fun conversation this evening here in the basement, but we do appreciate you coming down and having a fun conversation with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Guys, you know what to do at this point. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. If you guys know any other talented artists in the Salt Lake or greater Salt Lake area, please send them our way. We'd love to have a conversation with them. If you guys want to help support the show, please join our Patreon. We'll be sending stickers out every 25th of the month. You have till the 15th of the month to sign up for that monthly sticker club. Links will be available down in the
Description.
Yep, that thing down below. You can follow us on Instagram at Steadfast Rebels, or all of the links are available down below. Yeah, that's gonna do it for the episode, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.